To continue to be successful, businesses must evolve. And that is also true for firewood businesses. Welcome back to Outdoors Engineer. My name's Mitch, and today I want to talk about how my firewood business has evolved over the last few years. Here in northern Wisconsin, a lot of people heat their homes with wood. Now, we have a gas furnace in our house, so wood heat is not our primary heat, but we do have a small wood stove in the basement that is a secondary heat, and it's really, really nice in those cold winter months. Pretty much from October to sometimes April, we'll have a fire every now and then. In the colder months, we'll have it nonstop throughout the day to help supplement the heat in the house. It really warms up that basement nice. We have a home office in the basement, so having that wood stove in the basement really, really helps. So the firewood business started in 2020, and we had a little bit of extra firewood left over. I had noticed at all the gas stations, grocery stores, hardware stores in the area, and also there were some little private stands, but they're firewood stands where people were selling firewood bundles. And I thought, with this extra firewood, maybe I could just try selling some of that firewood as bundles at the road or at the end of the driveway in a roadside stand. So I decided, we'll give it a try. I wanted it to be cheap, especially starting out. And so I built a little jig, and it was very small. I actually don't even have it anymore. It was so nice. And that jig, you could not even use plastic wrap on it, but that was by design. I had thought about it, and I did not want to put plastic wrap around my bundles at first because I thought that the plastic wrap would most likely end up in the landfill or in the fire pit being burned. And I didn't think that was a smart thing. So I was like, hey, I'll try doing binder twine to tie the bundle. So this jig worked perfectly for using binder twine. I'd lay the twine out, wrap the twine around the bundle, and then tie it off. And with the binder twine, you're able to actually incorporate a handle as well, which was nice. There were many issues with the binder twine. Number one, I could not get the twine tight enough, and I'd have a lot of loose bundles. Number two was my hands. The binder twine really, really ate at my hands. So we did a bunch of bundles that way. Along with making the bundles, I needed some way to display the bundles. And again, I wanted it to be cheap. I wanted it to be free. I had materials on hand, so I built a little roadside stand to put out by the road, and I also built myself a little pay box. So this roadside stand, you can see it in one of the first videos on this channel. I'll put that in the link here. And it was free. It was all materials I had on hand. I had these brackets. This is some old cedar wood that came off of our old deck. And then I took some plywood and I built the pay box. This pay box is very simple. I put a slot in it here, and there are 4 screws. And when I wanted to pull money out, I'd pull the screws off and I could get the money out of the pay box. Very simple design, not much to it, and I actually still have it. I had a little sign hanging off of it that said $5, and that's how much I sold those bundles for. So that roadside stand was my primary focus, or my primary mechanism for selling firewood in the year of 2020. But tying bundles using binder twine was not the end-all answer for making firewood bundles. And I realized that very soon. I probably only made 20 or 30 bundles with binder twine. My hands were getting so raw. I decided to order a plastic wrap tool because I figured it was time to try using plastic wrap on bundles. I ended up ordering this from Granger Supply, I believe was where I got it from, and it's a couple rolls of plastic wrap. And this tool could not be used with my original jig that I used to tie bundles with binder twine. So I had to build another jig, and that's what we have behind me here. Again, I wanted it to be cheap and free, and this is exactly what this was. This is all leftover wood I had on hand from leftover deck materials that we did when we tore out the old deck on the house. And it was designed to hold 3/4 of a cubic foot of firewood here. Bring the firewood up to this line, put it in this slot, and then it had room underneath where I could fill it with firewood and wrap it with plastic. So again, in the fall of 2020, that's when I built this. This jig has been around since then. It's, what is it, February, March of 2024 now. So it's coming up on 4 years, 3.5 years old, and it's still going strong. Granted, I have stopped using it as a full-time bundle device now, but it's still here. In that video I put in a link before about the old roadside stand, you will also see this firewood stand in use. You can also see it in another video here on when I timed how fast it took to make firewood bundles with this. And on average, in my experience, I could make 1 bundle per minute in this stand or in this jig. So I want to demonstrate how it's used. I'll make a couple of bundles. This is kind of a beginning of a little test as well. In the roadside stand, you'll see this later, I have another way to make bundles, but I don't actually wrap bundles anymore. A comment in one of my last video from a couple months ago suggested that I should still make firewood bundles and allow the customer to choose which method they would rather go with buying firewood. So what I'm going to do today is make some bundles, put the bundles in a roadside stand, allow the customer to choose what type of bundle firewood they want to have. So this allows me to demonstrate this jig and how my firewood business has evolved into this and away from it. The issue with a jig like this is firewood needs to be very clean. It can't be irregularly shaped. Can't have any big knobs or anything like that. It should be relatively the same length as well, because that makes it look clean. So you always hear the term premium bundle wood, and that's really what you need in jigs like this. Something like this really doesn't work. While you can get it in there, it doesn't work that great because it's got this uneven portion on the side. So there's another one. So this wood is nice and dry. That's another good thing about firewood bundles, is making sure that the wood's dry. But it's very simple. Just kind of fill it up. Now this was only 3/4 cubic foot. I am selling 0.9 cubic foot bundles now these days, so I want to make sure that we get a little extra wood in here to bring it up to 0.9 cubic feet. And I'm grab my label. Now to start bundling this, I'll pull little extra plastic wrap on it. Start it, wrap it around, and then we can start wrapping. Then I gotta stick my label in it. And what's nice about this is you can tighten it and get that bundle nice and tight, and there's no issues with it falling apart later on. And there we go. 1 bundle made. Now this was the primary mechanism of making bundles that I used starting in the fall of 2020 all the way up until my new method. Stick around so you can see that coming up. All the way up until the middle of 2023, I used this jig and I made bundles. All in all, in 2020, I sold 127 bundles in the roadside stand, and that was very, very surprising to me. So I decided I needed to continue doing that. So I went all in and ordered a truckload of firewood and started expanding my firewood business and evolving. So you've seen this one before. This is a roadside stand that I built in 2021. The winter of 2020 to the winter of 21 is when I built this roadside stand. I had to evolve. That old roadside stand that I built initially was too small, too ugly. I needed to do something different. So I built this beautiful monstrosity. You can see I was selling it for different prices, but initially I was selling firewood bundles out of this stand in 2021, 2022, and half of 2023. So this stand I used for 2.5 seasons out at the end of the driveway. Now you can see the build of this roadside stand here in the video that I did on it back in the spring of 2021. I'll have a link in the description as well. The benefit of the roadside stand is that it provided opportunity for customers to buy different options. You could buy the bundled firewood. I had 24 in this area I could fit, but it also allowed them to buy loose firewood because people would come up, they come up for weeks at a time. So being able to buy not just bundles, but to be able to buy loose firewood that allowed them to have more, get more bang for their buck in firewood was a big benefit for my roadside stand. And that's what this area was for here before. That area ended up being about 5-ish bundles would fit in that spot, and I could sell it for $20. Sold a lot of those loose stacks as well. So that was part of the evolution process, offering more opportunities for people to buy different types of firewood. All in all, I mentioned in 2020, I sold 127 bundles with that old roadside stand at the end of my driveway. In 2021, I sold, see here, 232 bundles. And then in 2022, I sold 273 bundles. Those are just bundles, and those came out of this roadside stand here. Remember, I also had those loose stacks. In 2021, I had sold 97 loose stacks in this area over here, 97 loose stacks. And in 2022, I sold 110 loose stacks. So my sales went up in 2022. That was huge. I didn't realize I was going to sell that much firewood. I was really surprised, and I figured it's time to expand and keep making improvements to my firewood business. But I continued with this stand and the wrap bundles into 2023 as well, as I wanted to take time to decide on how I wanted to proceed with the roadside stand and also the firewood bundles. And that led me to seeing a video from Dan at Back 40 Firewood when Wolf Ridge Manufacturing came out with the firewood bagger. You can see that video that I initially saw here. I'll have a link in the description as well from Dan at Back 40 Firewood. And I watched that video and instantly I knew I wanted to have that firewood bagger. I wanted it to improve my firewood bagging system, or my firewood bundle system, and my firewood bundle business. And the old jig I made back in 2020 was getting to be a little too much. I wanted to make the process easier for me. So I went ahead, I put in an order for the Wolf Ridge Firewood Bagger. So this is the Wolf Ridge Firewood Bagger. This is the 1 cubic foot variety. And you can see it has a nice bucket area where I'm able to put firewood in, and then once it's filled with firewood, we slide a bag over top, tip it upside down, the firewood falls out inside the bag, and then I bring the bag around, set it on this table, and I can tie it off. So this has been a game changer for just making bundles altogether. It's a lot easier than that old bundle jig that I built back in 2020. I can make bundles quicker. I'll have a link in the description below for when I originally got my hands on this firewood bagger, unboxed it, and used it for the first time. But today I want to show you, just demonstrating how I use it again. If you're interested, seeing how it works. It's really simple. What's the beauty about this one is it doesn't need to be perfect firewood. So I can put this in here. And it doesn't need to be perfect length either, because it's in a bag and it just works out to be a little bit nicer. So just keep filling up the container with firewood. The smaller they are, the easier it is. I got a little chunk in here in the way. The more you can fit too. There we go. And then I'll grab a couple bags here. We'll slide my label in. And then we slide the bag over the top. Tip it out. There we go, one bag. And we'll tie it off. Now I've been tying it lately using the shoestring method. Just however you tie your shoestrings, do it that way. And that allows the opportunity for people to untie it. And I do have a bag return in the roadside stand so people can bring the bags back and not destroy them. So that's that. We'll make another one. Again, doesn't really matter the ultimate size. of the firewood. Can't be too gnarly, but for the most part, most sizes fit, and they don't need to be exactly the same length for looks. So we'll just fill them in. This is nice dry ash and hard maple. That one's a little big to fit in there now. Let's hear it. Sounds good. It's been super dry here lately, so things are really drying out really well. Get it filled in, put my label down the side, and slide a bag over the top, like so. There we go. And we set the bag on the table, and we can tie it off. So as mentioned, I use the method like we're tying shoes. So I grab a string on this side, grab the string on this side, tighten it up, and then take the two loops, bring them together, and then do the regular knot, and there we go. Bundle is ready to go. One thing I want to make note of is the actual bag that's being used themselves. You'll see some bags out there. Amazon has them. There'll be some people on YouTube that has them. They typically will have something like firewood on the side. I had some of those bundles, those bags. They actually came with the station from Wolfridge Manufacturing. When I bought it, I got 100 bags for free, probably included in the price. But those bags do not last, especially in the sun. They are very susceptible to the UV rays, and if they sit in the sun for too long, those bags will disintegrate, basically self-destruct. Now, I found these bags are from a local supplier, and they sell, their primary business is a bundle business, and they sell all over the Northwoods of Wisconsin. And I bought these bags. He buys them in bulk. I think last time they had 10,000 bags on hand, and bought them in bulk. And so far, I've really grown to like these bags. I've had some sitting in here in the sun for months, probably about 3 or 4 months, and they have not shown any sign of wear. And this is they've been sitting right over here in the sun along with this firewood here, and they are still holding strong. So if I would have had those other bags that I used to have used in those spots, they would have disintegrated from the sun. So make sure you get some good bags. Not all bags are equal. Some of them disintegrate really fast, other ones do not. So this bagging station from Wolfridge Manufacturing was one improvement that I made in the year of 2020. I got it probably June or July of 2020. The other thing I improved was the roadside stand. As you saw, I still have the roadside stand here in the wood yard, the old one. That's because I have a new one. The spring of 2023 brought me the opportunity to expand my firewood business a little bit more. I was asked by a local business that if I wanted to, I could put some firewood for sale at their place of business. It's not too far from my house, and it was a good opportunity for me to just expand my business a little bit. I needed to design a new firewood stand, and it wasn't the pallet firewood stand that I've been using for years here at the house. I needed to design something that looked a little more professional and better. So I built a new design and built a new roadside stand. Now, that business, the firewood business at that location, did not do very well. I think I only sold $300 worth of bundles at that location for a good 3 or 4 months of 2023. So I decided I needed to call it quits at that location and just bring that roadside stand back. And it allowed me the opportunity to upgrade the roadside stand here at the house. So what you see behind me is the new roadside stand. I have a video, you'll see that here, a link in the description of when I built this roadside stand. And I have another one coming out later on some mods that I made to it. I made some upgrades to it as well. But this roadside stand is a huge improvement over the last roadside stand I had out here. I have opportunity to sell kindling wood. I've got 3 spots to sell bulk firewood at $20 a piece. They are the same size as the old firewood stand as far as volume goes, but they're much more laid out, easier access for customers. I have a spot to return bags. I have an opportunity to sell bundled firewood. So here's my bags of firewood that I'm selling right here. Bundles, 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 bundles. I've got an opportunity, ideas to sell smaller firewood for smokeless fire pits. And I also have for sale mini firewood, which there's been a nest in here, but this is the little stuff for the mini solo stoves, or perhaps even in pizza ovens. So I have these opportunities for people to buy many different types of firewood. Again, I've got kindling, loose stacks, bundles, little bundles, mini bundles, lots of different opportunity for people to buy different types of firewood, and it just looks way more professional than the old palletized free roadside stand that I built in 2021. Now, this wasn't cheap. I think I spent almost $1,000 on materials and paint, custom made signs. I've got lights underneath here for people to, if they stop here at night. I've got tin metal roof, and it's gonna be here a long time. It's a very nice presentation. So this has been my evolution of my firewood business. Has your business evolved over the years? Let me know. I started out with that old rickety DIY tiny roadside stand, hand tying bundles with twine, getting blisters, just was not fun. I moved into the wrap bundles and the homemade jig, jumped in 2020, built that new pallet roadside stand using pallets. It was free, cheap, kind of ugly, but I sold a lot of firewood out of that roadside stand over the last 2.5 years. Now we're in year 2024. I've got this beautiful roadside stand. I've got bags of firewood. I've got plenty of opportunity for people to buy different types of firewood. And we're just evolving, making the business better. So while we're at it, go check out the video on how I built this roadside stand. I think you'll enjoy it. Have a great day.